This is air power. On July 26, 1943, Second Lieutenant John Morgan sat in the co-pilot seat of his B-17 Ruthie II alongside his close friend, Captain Robert Campbell. They were part of a massive formation of 120 bombers heading deep into Germany. Over the North Sea, Morgan's eyes caught movement ahead. Bandits. 12 o'clock high. A lot of them, he shouted. Over 150 German fighters swarmed toward the formation. "Ready up, boys!" Morgan yelled. Behind them, Staff Sergeant Tyre Weaver climbed into the top turret, lining up his guns. The enemy flew straight and level with the fortresses, making it harder for gunners to hit them. On the right cheek gun, Second Lieutenant Keith Koski called out, "Bandits! 1 o'clock level!" and opened fire. Shells streaked past, crashing into the Ruthie II. A 20mm round struck Weaver's left shoulder, sending him reeling, while another bullet hit Captain Campbell in the head. Morgan stared in horror at his captain, slumped and bleeding. He was suddenly alone in taking command. Determined, he gripped the controls. "The captain is hit, but I got this," he muttered, trying to keep the bomber steady. But Campbell, despite a shattered skull and severe brain trauma, somehow resisted. The plane veered violently as Campbell fought Morgan for control, banking sharply left and right, throwing them out of formation. But Morgan refused to yield. Not for the first time, he thought of his father, who'd taught him to box as a boy. He dug in his heels and threw a punch, catching Campbell under the eye. The captain crumpled, slumping over the controls. Morgan wasted no time in pressing his attack. "Don't die on me yet, Cap," he said urgently, helping him remove his helmet. Then, struggling, he pried Campbell's stiff fingers off the stick. It took everything he had, but slowly he pinned the captain, who was clearly unconscious now, and wrestled control of the plane away from him. Morgan stabilized the aircraft, but the fight had taken its toll. His knuckles were split and bleeding, his lip was torn, and there was a sharp pain where a tooth used to be. But he had the plane under control, and that was what mattered. As the flight continued on to the target and then back to England, the reality of the situation smacked Morgan squarely in the face. He was in command now. Ahead, flak exploded in the sky, shrapnel tearing into the bomber as they approached the target. The intercom was dead, oxygen was scarce, and the rear gunners collapsed one by one, leaving only the ball turret and nose gunner alert. But something else happened, too. The men in the rear, nearly 2 hours without oxygen, began to regain consciousness. They were weak, disoriented, and the cold of their ordeal left them with frostbite. But they were alive. Koski finally helped Morgan in removing Campbell from the pilot's seat. With the captain gone, the wounded plane limping along, Morgan pressed on. And 3 hours later, as the sun rose, Ruthie II landed safely at the nearest friendly airbase. It was later determined that both the 20mm shell and the bullet that hit Weaver knocked him unconscious. But he still managed to get himself into his parachute. When he was pushed out of the plane, he made it to the ground without issue. He suffered a collapsed lung and extensive damage to his shoulder, but he survived. The plane, damaged but intact, had made it back to England. Captain Robert Campbell, however, did not survive. An hour after landing, he died from his wounds. He was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross for his actions that day. Second Lieutenant John Morgan, along with the rest of the Ruthie II crew, completed more than 30 missions. He earned the Distinguished Flying Cross and several other medals for his heroism that day, saving the lives of the men under his command. In all, 7 of the 9 airmen aboard Ruthie II that day would survive the war. If you like this story, I can tell you more. How about a 24-year-old pilot leading a bombing run against the Japanese during World War II? Check out this video.